zombie apocalypse is here. The hope for humanity is in the hands of a creepy math teacher, a kung fu albino man, and 15 of the most incredibly stupid teenagers you will ever meet in a book. The hope for the human race is doomed. Hello, my bookworms, and welcome to my review on the Dollhouse Asylum by Mary Gray. So this book was a gift by Dylan Books, I believe it was, back in December when I was doing the BookTube Secret Santa. I feel obligated that I have to enjoy this book because I requested this book. And I can't, because it would just go against everything I believe in to give a good review on this book solely because, you know, it was a gift. So I'm going to read to you guys the synopsis of this because I'm going to point something out that, you know, is very heart-wrenching. When the world is breaking, all someone wants is safety. A virus that had once been contained has returned, and soon no place will be left untouched. But when 18-year-old Cheyenne wakes up in Elysium Fields, a subdivision cut off from the world and its monster-creating virus, she is thrilled to have a chance at survival. At first, Elysium Fields, with its beautiful houses and manicured lawns, is perfect. T.O. Richardson, the older man who stole Cheyenne's heart, built it so they could be together. How romantic. But when T.O. tells Cheyenne there are tests that she and 7 other couples must pass to be worthy of salvation, Cheyenne begins to question the perfection of his world. The people they were before are gone. Cheyenne is now Persona, and each couple has been renamed to reflect the most tragic romances in the history ever told. Everyone is fighting to pass the test, to remain in Elysium Fields. T.O. dresses them up, tells them when to move and how to act. In order to pass the test, they must play along. If they play it right, they'll be safe. But if they play it wrong, then they die. So I'm not gonna lie, you know, that sounds pretty cool, but, you know, it's not. This lies to you. Take in the betrayal. Take it in. I would love to point out everything that lies to you on this synopsis, but, you know, that would just take too long, and this video is gonna be long enough as is, so. From the synopsis, it sounds relatively cool. But, you know, when you start reading it, it's stupid because the main character, Cheyenne, is stupid. So let's do this synopsis. The main character is Cheyenne, and she wakes up in this weird place, and she's blindfolded, so of course she can't see anything, but then the blindfold is ripped from her face, and she's looking around, and she realizes, oh god, I've been kidnapped, and she spots body bags in the corners, and she's, you know, not really freaking out, but she's, you know, in shock. So that's completely normal. And then she sees this weird albino guy, and she's like, oh my god, I really have been kidnapped. And then she hears a name call out to her from the distance. It is a voice she would know anywhere. And from the shadows steps T.O., her math teacher and, you know, boyfriend. So T.O., I'm not exactly sure how to say his name. It's T.E.O., but Mary Gray decides to give you a lesson in how to say his name, in which it's T-A-Y-O-H. So Teo, but I'm going to call him Teo just because I can. Teo then, you know, in a way explains things to Cheyenne, and, you know, she doesn't question anything. She doesn't go, hey, why did you kidnap me? What is happening? Instead, no. He tells her, you can either play it my way, or if you want to leave, that is your way out, and, you know, points to the body bag. So Cheyenne decides to play his game. He pushes her out onto a street that has no beginning and no end, which isn't true because it's not a circle. It's not a circle, it's just two rows of houses. Teo tasks Cheyenne with finding her right house. The first house she picks is her answer, and if she gets it wrong, she's not part of Elysium Fields. You know, she leaves in a body bag, and if she's right, she's welcome. So Cheyenne's walking up and down this street, and it's, you know, Houston, Texas, so it's hot, she's thirsty, she can't think straight, and the odds are really against her because there's 14 houses, 7 on each side. So she's walking up and down these streets, you know, she begins noting the names that are on the houses or the mailboxes, wherever these names were. She discovers that one side is for men and the other side is for women. Well, that can only mean one thing, and I'm not mathematically, you know, awesome. I'm actually really bad at math. But that means her odds have just greatly increased by 50%. Even I know that. She now went from a 1 in 14 chance of finding the right house to a 1 in 7. There is a chance she could live. Very small chance, but there is a chance. But what does this girl decide to do? She decides to go to the men's side of the street and walk up and down that side and go and knock on doors. So the one house she knocks at, a man answers the door. Well, not really a man. He's like a boy, and his name is Marcus, and she knows him from school, although they didn't attend the same school. Their schools are very strange in Texas. Apparently, you have one for mathematical things, and then another one for creative arts, because you don't need both. So Marcus opens the door, and she knows him by the name of Mark. And when he introduces himself, he's like, "Oh no, I'm Marcus now." And that's the only thing she questions at that time is, why did you change your name to Marcus? I'm gonna get into that later, but that was her main concern. The first thing he says to Cheyenne is, "Are you vaccinated?" From what you read in the book, that is basically the "hello, how are you" type of thing going on because of this thing called the living rot. The living rot is basically the zombie virus that started out in Beijing, and they thought they killed it off, and then it popped up in Texas. So when she says, "No, I'm not vaccinated," he slams the door in her face, and she begins knocking on the door like, let me in," and then the earth shakes, a hole opens up in the ground, and as if she wasn't dumb enough for just simply questioning, why did you change your name to Marcus, not what's happening, she decides to walk towards this hole that formed in the ground, thinking Tio sent her a clue. I don't know what kind of clue a hole in the ground would be, but apparently that was a clue Tio was sending her, or so she believes. So she's trotting up to the hole, all excited, oh, he's doing this so we can be together, how romantic, and this is a clue. Of course Tio would send me a clue because he's so smart and he knows everything. But what comes out of the hole? A snake. I can't even begin to understand that. And okay, yes, the main character, Cheyenne, is petrified of snakes, but you don't really get that feel because all she does is go, "I'm scared of snakes. Oh my god," and tiptoes around the hole. So in tiptoeing around the hole with the snake in it, she walks to the far end of the street, crosses the street to the female side, and knocks on the first door she gets to, and it opens, and lo and behold, who's there? Tio. Tio is inside, and he sees her, and he goes, "Congratulations, you've passed the test. Welcome to Elysium Fields." Elysium Fields is basically this compound created by Tio. It's just 14 houses apparently built in the middle of nowhere. And there's manicured lawns, which I don't understand who's mowing these lawns. And, there's a bunch of kids living there, which I still don't understand. But, that's what Elysium Field is. It's this compound to protect them from the zombies. After being welcomed to the field, Cheyenne is taken to this house where she is shown this video that the zombie virus, the living rot, has returned and that it's affecting Houston, Texas. And that's why she was kidnapped. Basically, this video was just this guy with a camera running around screaming as a zombie child chased him around eating somebody's arm. Cheyenne is then taken and introduced to everybody else in Elysium Field, and when Tio introduces her, it's not Cheyenne anymore. No, it is Persephone. I have no idea if I'm saying that right, but it's the Greek goddess that Hades kidnapped. She does not question why he changed her name, she just goes with it. And then she's, being introduced to everybody else, and she meets this fat girl named Anne, and Tio begins making fun of this girl he allowed into his compound, which I don't understand that. Just, why would you make fun of somebody you allowed in? Cheyenne, though, finally has a bit of a backbone and stands up for the fat girl, but Tio has this big temper tantrum, grabs Cheyenne, and drags her out of the house. Tio yells at her, and this is probably what pisses me off most about this book. It's not, the ridiculousness that's going on. It's the fact that as Tio is yelling at her, and this isn't just one instance, it continues on throughout the book, but while he's yelling at her, she has it in her head that, yes, I deserve this. I shouldn't have spoken out of turn because, he's so smart and so awesome and so hot that he just forgets that we can't understand We can't. How dare I do this? Tio finally calms down enough to tell Cheyenne that she's upset him so much she has another task at hand. She's got to learn everybody's names and come back to him later that night and tell him the names. I don't know what kind of task that is, but it's fairly simple. So she goes and she tries to learn the names. She learns all the names and she befriends the Batgirl and some little Asian chick and the girl B, whom she's living in B's house. So she's living in B's house, so you can pretty much assume B is the one leaving. It's common sense. So she learns all the names. So she's all excited, and she's going to Tio's house, and she's all like, yes, I know these names. I'm going to get the vaccine. This is awesome. I'm so excited. So she goes in. She begins to tell him the names, and then he pounces on her, and they begin making out. In the middle of the making out, the door bursts open, and 3 guys barge in, and the 3 guys are Marcus, Ramus, and Romeo. They're trying to defend Cheyenne, like protect her, like, no, this isn't right, you can't do this. And Cheyenne, is all like, no, it's fine, I'm so happy, he's so hot, just, it's okay. It's really okay, just leave me to my business. Whereas Tio, again, has a big temper tantrum and is like, whose idea was this? And Ramus takes the blame, even though it wasn't his fault. It was Marcus's, his little brother's idea, not Ramus's little brother, Tio's little brother. So Tio takes everybody out onto the street, and he, calls all the other people that weren't in this room watching them make out. They're all out on the street now too, and he decides then that he is going to recite the story of B and Ramus. In reciting it, B and Ramus have to reenact it. They have to play the part. So, when they're kind of like hesitating about it, Cheyenne jumps in and she begins telling the story like, oh, this happens next, and this happens next, because she wants to appease the almighty Tio. So he has B climb over this fence, and you think it's the fence to the compound, but it's not. She climbs over this thing and into this hole, I want to say, and then this albino ninja dude pops out and is gonna kill Ramus, and Ramus is like, oh no you don't, and he, jumps over and is with B. It is then that B and Ramus are thrown to the lions, and I would like to say that that is figuratively speaking, but no, there's a lion in the ground in a hole, and they get eaten by a lion. Where a lion came from, I don't know. I don't. So after B and Ramus have been eaten and, all these people had to watch it happen, they are taken to the middle of the street where Tio is like, every few days, somebody is going to host a soiree. Because, when the zombie apocalypse is happening, that's what we care about. We want a party. So the first people to throw this soiree are Romeo and Juliet. So in between Ramus and B being eaten and finding about these soirees and the actual soiree, Cheyenne realizes Tio has a little bit, of his screws loose in his head. He's not all there. She still loves him though, but God knows why, but she does. So the soiree happens, and not much really happens. They have to reenact a certain part of their tragic love story, and there's Tio, and he's like, would you be willing to marry him, or Romeo? And Juliet is just like, I'm a little young for that, and she realizes then that if she doesn't say yes to getting engaged to Romeo, he's gonna kill her. So she's like, oh yes, we'll get married. So they live and they get the vaccine. The next person to throw the soiree is Cheyenne, and she does her research. She paints this picture of Tio because he's Hades, and you got to appease that ego of his. So she paints this big picture of him. She begins to develop these feelings for Marcus, who is Tio's little brother. This has to be like the most disturbing love triangle I've ever read about. But she develops feelings for Marcus, and they begin hanging out and talking. So the night of her party comes, and she thinks Tio doesn't like it because he walks off in a huff, but it turns out he really did enjoy it. And then he proposes to her, and she's like, I have to say yes, otherwise I'm gonna die. So she says yes, and at this point, all of these people in Elysium Fields are realizing what they have to do in order to survive. You have to get engaged to your tragic love stories, other couple person thing. The best part is the next one to throw the soiree clearly didn't get that memo, because when it's her turn to, be like, yes, I will marry him, she fights Tio on it, and yes, she gets killed. And then, of course, her other half is killed, and then there's this girl going around yelling, oh my god, and bawling her eyes out, and she gets killed, her neck is snapped, and then what's one without the other? So, of course, the other guy dies. So that is 3 couples killed off in a matter of days. And then, and only then, does Cheyenne realize how batshit crazy Tio really is. So there's 5 more couples left in this compound because Tio decided him and Cheyenne are going to be included in this group. So the next people to throw the soiree, I don't exactly remember who it was. It could have been Cleopatra and Marcus, or Anne and some weird guy who doesn't like her. I don't really exactly remember, but one of them is supposed to throw the party, and Cheyenne is like talking to Marcus, and they're like, I'm gonna steal this remote control because apparently Tio has a remote control that can open the compound gates, and they're gonna escape. So Cheyenne steals the remote, and she runs away with Anne because Anne's gonna be the next one to get killed. So they run away, and she's pushing the button, and nothing happens because, of course, it doesn't work. Duh. And, they get captured by Tio, and he throws them into a hole. And that's where I stopped reading. There was possibly like 50 more pages in the book, but I couldn't do it. And I know what everybody's thinking. Like, what? You stopped reading, Erica? No, you're OCD. You have to finish. No, I don't. No, because that gave me such a migraine to read. I was actually hitting the back of my head against the wall every time something stupid would happen, which, I can't even imagine how many brain cells I lost in doing that. I did skim the rest of the book and, read some reviews to find out exactly what happened, in which case what happens is there is no zombie virus. Tio, paid parents or, scared parents into giving away their children, which these people are apparently very weak. And Tio isn't really Tio. Tio's actually the albino guy, I think it was. I don't even know anymore. I don't even know. Needless to say, by the time I stopped reading, I already figured out that there wasn't a virus. Here's some food for thought for those of you who did think that there was a virus until the very end and were like, oh, what? Where the hell would Tio have gotten the vaccine from? People didn't know that the zombie virus was coming. They thought it was gone and taken care of. And when Marcus is like, hey, are you vaccinated? That makes me assume that the vaccine already once existed, in which case these people would have already been, injected with the vaccine. They would have already been like, no, it's cool. I don't need the vaccine. I've got it. So there's no blackmail to get these kids to do what Tio wants them to do. And to further that argument, if this zombie virus is airborne, which I'm assuming is, because I don't think a zombie came over from Beijing and, chilled out in Houston, Texas for a few years before biting somebody. If it's airborne, then this compound isn't really going to keep them safe from that, because it's not a dome. There's no dome, there's no bubble over it protecting them. So, I don't buy into it. I knew before I found out in a review. So as you guys know, I like to doodle in my books, but because this book was a gift, and I felt that would be rude to doodle in the book, and well, there was gonna be a lot of doodles, so instead I have notes. I have notes. Look at that, back, front, top, side margins. They're everywhere. We're gonna discuss what I liked and what I didn't like. In which case, we are going to do what I liked first, because that's gonna be the shortest. I like the cover. The cover looks really cool. The other thing I like, the idea of the rot. This whole premise that it was a virus that, humanity thought we had killed off, and, it suddenly popped up. Granted, it really didn't, but, the fact that it could have popped up in Houston, Texas, and, it began infecting people again, it's very disturbing. It's this man-made virus that we created that destroyed Beijing, and, everyone now has this irrational fear of it. I really like that. It wasn't there. That's all I liked. 2 things. So let's get to what I didn't like, because that's gonna be long. The main thing I just liked about this book, Cheyenne. As the main character, she is weak. She is pathetic. She is stupid. Oh my god, I've read really bad main characters before. Like in Dark Parties, that character was a flip-flopper. She couldn't make up her mind. I would have been ecstatic to read that. But no. Instead, I get landed with this idiotic girl, this 18-year-old woman who thinks, one, verbal abuse is okay, two, that being kidnapped is perfectly okay as long as you're kidnapped by your super high intelligent, even though he's not that intelligent, math teacher. Three, somebody who thinks that, this is all okay up until someone gets murdered. It takes a murder for her to realize something's not perfectly okay. Four, someone who can't make up her mind. Does she want the bad guy or does she want his little brother? Screwed up love triangle. That's sick. That's disgusting. This is becoming a thing in young adult books. And I think that's why in the beginning, before, I started getting all of these books, I mainly stayed away from them. Why I read mainly adult books, because you didn't get this stupid shit in these books. Instead, you get it in young adults where these authors are like, oh yes, this will make everyone relate to my character. I'm going to make my character weak and stupid. I'm not saying every female lead character has to be strong, but if you're not going to make her strong, make her intelligent. The mere fact that Cheyenne constantly defended Tio, I understand love. I understand that you don't want to believe that the person you are in love with is a horrible, horrible monster. I get that. But to some degree, in the back of your mind, you have to have that nagging thought of, something's not right. Prime examples of how stupid Cheyenne is. When she's kidnapped, just the essence that when she heard Tio's voice, everything was okay. That she went, this is alright. He's doing this so we can be together. He's kidnapped me from my family, from my mother, so that way we could be together. That doesn't stand up because she's 18. If she wanted to be with him at that point in time, she could be with him. I don't know if she's still in school or not. I'm assuming no, because wouldn't the school question why 15 children went missing? Seriously. So she's 18, and I'm assuming she's not in school, in which case, alright, yes, their relationship will be frowned upon, but she has the right. She is old enough, mature enough. She is an adult where she can make her own decisions, and she can be with Tio if she wants to be with Tio. There's no rules, there's no laws to say otherwise, so why he had to kidnap her, it doesn't stand up. Another instance, when she's walking at the hole. Seriously, who walks towards a hole that formed in the ground thinking it's a fucking clue? It is not a clue. It is a hole in the ground, and I was rooting for zombies to be in there. I wanted zombies to come out and eat her limb by limb. I would have paid for that to happen in this book. I would have paid. So there's many more things I could rant about with Cheyenne, but I'm not going to because this video is going to be long enough as is. So let's get to the character, Teo. But he is basically this 24-year-old math teacher who is the biggest child I have ever read about in, adult form. The mere fact he has temper tantrums throws me for a loop. I mean, I understand things aren't going your way, but for God's sakes, it's not even like that this was something new to Cheyenne that she had seen Tio do. She had seen him do it in class when a student made a remark about his hair, and he specifically shaved his head to go against the student and gave her, flunked her or something stupid like that. He threw a temper tantrum because someone made a remark to him. That's what we call unstable. That man has some problems, and 9 out of 10 chances are you should stay away from him, and you should probably go to your principal and be like, hey, he's a little weird. So apparently Tio in this story has some freaky hold over everybody. And I mean everybody, because as I said, I read in the reviews that he, blackmailed or threatened these parents and he took their children. That if they fought him on it, he would kill them or he'd kill the children. I can't even, there's no way to describe the stupidity that is Tio. That doesn't make sense to me. And, I understand that this is a dystopian, futuristic novel thing going on. It's fantasy. It's not actually ever going to happen. But please, make your characters believable. That's just not believable to me. There is no way, shape, or form I think parents would happily hand their kids over and be like, oh, useless little brother whom Cheyenne is having feelings towards, even though she's still in love with Teo. And I mean, when she's still in love with Teo, I mean before, she realized he's batshit crazy. Marcus is as stupid as Cheyenne. I don't know how he ended up in the compound, and I'm assuming the only reason he was in the compound was because of Teo. But to this degree, I think Teo and Marcus were like partners in crime, because Teo convinced Marcus to get his friends, put them in a van, and drive them into Elysium Fields. It's not even like these kids had free will to do this. So I really think that, that's what happened, that they were in cahoots with each other. Another example of that is the mere fact that Marcus let Ramus take the fall despite knowing what his brother was going to do. He knew, because, you're reading the book and, Marcus is looking at the ground like, no, I can't do that. I know what's happening. Like, I don't want to what? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So to a degree, I really think he was in some kind of cahoots with his brother on this. And Ramus's and B's murder, that pissed me off. And not because, I liked them as characters. You knew nothing about them to even, care that they died. No. What made me mad was the mere fact that after this murder happened, Marcus goes to Cheyenne's house and is like, you need to continue to pretend to love Teo. You've been doing a great job so far. I really think Mary Gray took like a year hiatus on this book and then came back at this point and was like, oh yeah, that's what he's gonna say, because it makes no sense, because Marcus convinced the other two to barge in on Cheyenne and his brother to protect Cheyenne, and then it's like, no, continue to love him after his friends have been murdered, after he let them take the fall for what he decided to do. And he's like, you have to continue to love my brother. You have to do this to keep us safe. If they hadn't barged in and Teo didn't have to kill B and Ramus, they would have been safe anyways. This was just something to be said to make sure that she still pretended to love. It was a way to push the story forward, and it was horrible. It was horrible because, my logic sense says, no, that doesn't make sense. Why would he barge in just to tell her later on, no, you're doing a good job so far in loving him. Continue that. Let's talk about the lion, because I'm still not understanding that. Where did the lion come from? How did Teo get a lion, and how did he get it into a hole? That's my question. Say you have been kidnapped by somebody. It doesn't have to be someone you're romantically involved with. So you're kidnapped and you're thrown into this compound with 14 other people. There's a crazed guy going around telling you what to do, how to behave, and that if you don't listen, you're gonna get killed. After the first murder happens and you realize, yeah, he's being serious, at what stage do you begin to rebel? At some point, you would realize that, hey, there's 13 of us, and 2 of them, we can outnumber them. We can overtake, we can overpower. Somewhere along the lines, that should have dawned on these imbeciles, and they should have revolted. They should have taken over. And if they really thought that there was a vaccine, you think they would have fought a little bit harder for it. I mean, that's your human nature going there. You don't sit there and just take it. You fight for it. You fight for your survival, which it does not happen, and that pisses me off. So enough about characters and plot holes and all of that. We're going to talk about, the writing in this book, because it was poor, to say the least. There was no feeling, there was no descriptions, there was no emotions, there was nothing. For instance, Cheyenne's afraid of snakes. So when a snake comes out of a hole, she should have held some reaction instead of simply stating, oh my god, I am so scared of snakes since my mom's boyfriend, blah, 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 blah. No, that doesn't cut it. Another example, when Cheyenne is being introduced to everybody else, there is this girl in a red dress with a slit up to there. Where's the slit up to? Because I can think of like 6 different places that the slit could be up to. There could be one to her mid-thigh, to her knee, to her shin, to her hip, to her waist. Where is it at? You can't say up to there and expect me to know. No. I like visual descriptions. I like just being able to sit there and be like, yes, this is not hard work on me. I know what's happening. It's so lazy. It irritates me. Mary Gray also attempts to play on words, and it fails so epically. But it can't have returns. That's what Cheyenne says. when she finds out about the zombie virus returning. But it can't have returned. Grammatically, that is correct. But when you say it out loud, you sound like a dumbass. Say it out loud. Gentlemen, I would like to invite you to leave. Invite is not the word to use. You can't invite someone to leave. You can invite someone to come in. You can invite someone to leave with you. You can force someone to leave. You can demand that they leave, but you cannot invite somebody to leave. That doesn't make sense. Don't play on words if you're going to sound like a twat. The last and final thing I'm going to rant about is this. Mary Gray. Look at her. Take that in. After reading some reviews on Goodreads and Amazon, I have been told to read this, the acknowledgments, and in doing so, I was more infuriated than when I finished reading. Thank you, my inner demon, for pushing me to write this book. Inner demon? Do you mean muse? Do you mean your muse? Because I'm really thinking that's what she means. Not inner demon. Inner demon is a conflict within yourself. It is a battle, an ongoing battle within yourself, you know, whether to do something right or to do something wrong. This is not your piece of work. Your masterpiece is not your inner demon. It should never be referred to as that, and that pisses me off because it's just, oh my god, you don't do that. You can say, thank you, my muse, but you don't ever say, thank you, my inner demon. And I understand, maybe she's just trying to be dark and mysterious, but that's my opinion to that. So this is where I leave you guys. This book, F minus. It's worse than City of Dark Magic, and that's saying something, because I at least finished City of Dark Magic. I didn't finish this. I couldn't. So it gets the worst. Don't buy it. Save yourself. On to the next book, and please be something good. The next book I have is The Tea Rose by Jennifer Donnelly. East London, 1888. A city apart. A place of shadow and light where thieves, whores, and dreamers mingle. Where children play in cobbled streets by day and a killer stalks by night. Where bright hopes meet the darkest truths. Here, by the whispering water of the Thames, Fiona Finnegan, a worker in a tea factory, hopes to open her own shop one day, together with her lifelong love, Joe Baristo. With nothing but their faith in each other to spur them on, Fiona and Joe struggle, save, and sacrifice to achieve their dreams. But Fiona's life is shattered when the actions of a dark and brutal man take from her nearly everything and everyone she holds dear. Fearing her own death, she is forced to flee London for New York. There, her spirit propels her to rise from the modest West Side shopfront to Manhattan's tea trade. But Fiona's old ghosts do not rest quietly, and to silence them, she must venture back to London of her childhood, where a deadly confrontation with her past becomes the key to her future. Victorian era. This takes place right around the time of Jack the Ripper, so I'm assuming the dark, brutal man is Jack the Ripper. At least I'm hoping for that. So I'm excited for this one. Please be good. This is a big book. It's 544 pages, and it's really tall for a paperback, so this might take me a while. The Dollhouse Asylum. I do not recommend it at all. Not even if someone held me at gunpoint would I recommend this book. Kill me before I recommend it. No, don't do it. Keep tuned for The Tea Rose by Jennifer Donnelly, and until then, you guys, happy reading!